What's going on, No Nation? It's CJ Wilson here with Dope Talk, here to bring you another episode. Here we have Matthew Brune with us, the on-3 reporter for LSU, to go ahead and kick off our new segment, Behind Enemy Lines. This is a new segment to the show where we're going to be covering the opponent from week to week and have a reporter from each team come on and give us, different aspects in regards to the upcoming game and just get to know the opponent a little bit better. So we're going to call this Behind Enemy Lines. Real quick, we do have a lot of events going on this weekend for the LSU game. Just a little weekend rollout that we have going on. We have our block party going on from 7 p.m. until 12 a.m. Excuse me. It's free to everyone, so come out and enjoy. We do have drink bans if you want to have adult beverages for $30. We have that available, and also we have parking available for the game. I know a lot of people have been DMing me and asking, about parking and things like that because parking can be a little hectic around Camping World Stadium. And also, like, who can you really trust when it comes to parking and things like that, right? So we do have parking available, and also tailgate tickets are still on sale. Go ahead and grab that ticket because the day of, we're going to go up in the price of it just for inventory concerns and things like that. So go ahead and grab those tickets. They're in the description and in the comments. Let's jump right into it, Matt. So LSU, man, BK is in, Brian Kelly is in the second year under the helm. A lot of hype coming into the year. A great first year in regards to the 9-3 season, SEC West championships. Let's just talk about LSU in general for year two. What to expect from the Tigers this year?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, coming off of the 10-win season, basically a 10-4 season, um, expectations are incredibly high, as you can tell from them being ranked number 5 in the country going in. There's real playoff buzz with this team. There's real top-end talent. There's real NFL talent. And then obviously you have Jaden Daniels at quarterback, who is one of the top Heisman candidates in the country going into the year. So all of that blended together puts LSU back in contention, which it hasn't been in since 2019, really. Obviously, you have those last two Ed Orgeron years, and then you get into Brian Kelly's first year where we didn't know what to expect. I think the win total was like at 6.5 or something, and they go out and win 9 games in the regular season. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see if they can live up to expectations. But I'm just excited that they start week one with Florida State, a game of this magnitude, really dumps both teams into the deep end. Just right off the rip, your flaws will be exploited. Both teams don't know what they have, but at the same time, you only know so much until you get in on the field. So I think the standard is set now. Expectations are very high, and I think LSU, as is the case with Florida State, you're looking at the playoff if everything goes right this season.
No, yeah, it's funny you mentioned, 6-5 over and under for you guys last year, and surprising a lot of people. It was pretty much the same for FSU last year. Even the game coming into last year, a lot of people didn't think either teams would be pretty good. And as after the end of the game, most people figured, it would be around 6 or 7 win teams, and lo and behold, we were one of the 2 better teams in the country. A lot of people just didn't know it at that point in time. But like I say, you fast forward now, FSU is in the same aspect in regards to playoff contention and things like that. So I agree for a game one like this with 2 elite blue blood programs, in my opinion, duking it out for week one. I think this is what college football is all about, and I'm also happy that it's early in the season, week one as well, because like you said, both teams will kind of figure out what they have, but at the same time, it's still week one trying to get their footing. It's if either team takes a loss with or whoever takes a loss within this game, it'll be time to recover throughout the regular season.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it a little bit. What do you've been looking at LSU so far and going to practices and things like that? How have the Tigers been looking in fall camp in regards to the progression that's been going on in year two for Brian Kelly?
Yeah, we were able to watch the first couple weeks of practice, a fall camp, which was really good access for us. We haven't been able to watch the past 2 weeks, but that's like game prep type stuff, so that doesn't surprise us. But we were able to watch, and I think the main thing we were able to learn, apart from the transfers that they brought in, Florida State and LSU are 2 of the biggest transfer portal teams in the country as far as their impact players that they're able to get. So that's the first thing, is you're able to watch the new players, see how they mesh, see how talented they are. You got guys like Ovia Gofu from Texas, 6th-year player, Omar Spates from an All Pac-12 first team selection season at Oregon State. Andre Sam transferred from Marshall. So you have a lot of defensive pieces there. And then overall, I think it was somewhere like 14, 15 transfers. So quite a bit. That's the first thing you get to see, and then secondly, you get to see those one-on-one matchups where you get to see like a Malik Neighbors going against, cornerbacks, whether that's so any of the transfers we mentioned, Zy Alexander, Deuce Chestnut, so on and so forth. So and then on the lines of scrimmage, you also get to see those one-on-ones. So that's the big thing that I think we got to see is got to see where everybody is health-wise, got to see where everyone is physically. Jaden Daniels and Garrett Nussmeier, two very, very high-level quarterbacks, got to see them participate in a lot of 7-on-7, 11-on-11 stuff. And then you get to see the depth chart kind of work out. Obviously, on offense, they return a lot on the offensive line, at receiver, quarterback. So we kind of knew how that was going to play out. The bigger questions were on defense and, like the outside linebacker spot and the middle linebacker spots and the defensive backfield especially. So the depth chart is something that I really learned a lot about, I think, when we were able to watch practice in August.
So speak about the defensive back room a little bit. Like you said, the Ohio State transfer suffered a season-ending injury pretty early.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Denver Harris had a suspension early on in the season. Well, during fall camp rather. So let's talk about the secondary in general. How are those guys adjusting as far as the transfers and just playing to the LSU standard of DBU, so to speak, and being those elite type of cornerbacks? How has the secondary been looking in practice?
Yeah, when Brian Kelly got here, that was one of the rooms that was the absolute, more empty rooms of the team after Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks obviously left after the 21 season. So Brian Kelly comes in, it's like he has to make something out of nothing last year where they added transfers, Jarek Bernard Converse from Oklahoma State and Mekhi Garner. They move on to the NFL, and now he was in the same spot this year as he was coming in, where he only had one scholarship corner on the roster going into the year. So the cornerback room was the main overhaul of this team. They brought in, you mentioned Denver Harris from Texas A&M, who was a 5-star guy, but was kicked off of the A&M team. They bring in Zy Alexander, FCS All-American from Southeastern, Deuce Chestnut, 2-year starter at Syracuse. And then, like you mentioned, J.K. Johnson from Ohio State, who suffered an injury that'll have him out an indefinite amount of time. So you have 4 transfer DBs, and then you have the one returner in LaTerrence Welsh. We didn't know how that was going to work out. At this moment, I think Zy Alexander, the FCS All-American from Southeastern, is cornerback 1 for them right now. He's got good size, 6'2", 6'3", has really good range. Obviously, it's a step up in competition. We know that, but he spent a lot of camp working against Malik Neighbors. And then on the other side, cornerback 2 is probably the only question mark still going into this game is like who's going to start. You have Deuce Chestnut, who I mentioned from Syracuse, and then they've plugged in Sage Ryan, who was a former, high 4-star, fringe 5-star guy, played nickel last year. They've moved him out to corner and to see if he can play. So that's um, an interesting spot there at corner. And then they feel a lot better at safety, I will say, than at corner, where you have Greg Brooks back, you have Major Burns back, and then they add on to Sam from the transfer portal.
All right, so let's shift over to the defensive line a little bit. Mason Smith, who I was looking forward to kind of seeing it. Well, not necessarily looking forward to be quite honest with you.
So were LSU fans. LSU fans were, after not seeing him last year, they were excited to see him as well.
You're right. Yeah, I could definitely understand that because it was crazy how the injury happened. Last year against us, he was causing some problems early on, and then the injury happened early on within the game. He was looking forward to playing this season, well, not excuse me, this game rather. Then the NCAA came down with that suspension, which I think is BS, quite honestly. But just talk about that in regards to the depth and how that hurt LSU and how they're able to, I guess not necessarily how they're able to recover, but what do they have to replace Mason Smith?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways they can make up for it, but the main thing that you lose is obviously that playmaking that gives you. Now, for those who don't know, he got hurt the first defensive possession of the season last year against Florida State, celebrating. He jumped up in celebration and then tears his ACL. So that was a really sad situation there. And then he comes into this season good to go. And the NCAA said that since he didn't serve this 1-game suspension last year because he was hurt, he has to serve it this year in game 1. So, like you said, kind of a messed up situation, but he still was working his way back. I wouldn't say even if he did play, he would have been 100%. But even if you could have maybe got 20, 30 snaps out of him, I do think that would have helped this defensive line. So they'll plug in Jacobian Guillory, who's more of a true nose tackle in the starting lineup. And then from a depth perspective, defensive tackle is another spot where they took a lot of transfers. Jordan Jefferson was a full season starter at West Virginia last year and was actually really good. And so they'll plug him in. Then they got some other pieces here and there. So overall, I think they're going to be able to make up for it, but they're not as dynamic at defensive tackle as they were with Mason Smith, obviously.
All right, and it was a topic of conversation early on in the camp, and Brian Kelly had some words about it as well. It was a big brawl against offense versus defense, and I've been around football practices and things like that. These type of altercations happen during camp, right? But it seemed like there was a little bit more to it in regards to Brian Kelly's response. He definitely wasn't happy about it. Could you just elaborate a little bit more on the situation that happened within that practice of camp?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, you've probably been around even more football practice than I have, that's for sure. But it's like I didn't even think anything of it when it happened. I was just like, all right, yeah, they're scrapping. You know, I don't know. I just assume that happens. I've been to a lot of football, basketball practices, different stuff, and it's kind of just how it goes. But it's clear Brian Kelly, he's not Ed Orgeron, right? This ain't the same program as what they were running under Ed Orgeron. So it was very much I remember he said right afterwards, he called the team together and said, we've been scrapping way too much. Like, we've been fighting way too much. There's been way too much bickering, going back and forth here. That was a fourth day of camp, I think, fourth day of fall camp. So since then, we didn't see any more fights and we didn't hear about anything more. So I'm pretty sure, and this is a team that has a lot of veteran leadership on it, similar to Florida State, to where if Coach Kelly says something, they'll make sure that it happens. So overall, I think it was an interesting fight. For those who don't know, it was like basically Malik Neighbors and Kyron Lacey to a degree against when Denver Harris and Harold Perkins, they kind of started it. They kind of got in each other's face, shoved off, and then, offense, defense kind of comes in and has to back up their guys to a degree. But yeah, that was another thing of Denver Harris. Going back to the Denver Harris point earlier, is like, kind of got caught up in a scrap, and then a week later gets suspended for a week. So we didn't fully know what was happening, and now I don't think he really gets meaningful snaps in this Florida State game. So that is an interesting development of this offseason.
Interesting, very interesting. All right, so another, I guess, hit, so to speak, that happened in the running back room. On John Emery, it was announced he's going to be out as well for this game. Let's talk about the LSU backfield and what you've been seeing in camp and the rotations that FSU may be seeing within the backfield.
Yeah, man, they have 8 scholarship running backs, and I don't remember I haven't heard of another team that has 8 scholarship backs. I'm sure there's one or two out there, but 8 is an incredible amount for a college football team, especially when in this day and age where nobody's really lined up in the eye. So yeah, I mean, Josh Williams is the returning leading rusher. Had about 500 yards last year. We have to remember Jaden Daniels led the team with like 850 rushing yards. So that's a big part of their run game. Josh Williams is the leading returning rusher at running back. John Emery and Noah Kane were also in that mix last year, 2 really solid backs. And then they added Logan Diggs, transferred from Notre Dame, who had about 825 yards or so last year at Notre Dame. So there's a lot of expectations that Diggs comes in and helps his team immediately. So I look at those 4 guys as kind of being the main rotation. And now with John Emery out for undisclosed reasons, I assume it to be Josh Williams, Logan Diggs, and Noah Kane, which is a fine backfield. There's not a Trey Benson in this running back room, but I think with those 3, they can get the job done even without John Emery there. And then you have 4 more. You have 2 freshmen, 2 true freshmen. You have Armani Goodwin, who can make some plays, but's been hurt a lot. And then you have Trey Bradford, who's been on and off the team for a bit. So, but I look at those 3, Williams, Diggs, and Kane, as kind of the same thing LSU had last year. Is you got some good players, some fine college running backs, but they're not going to be like NFL guys.
All right, you mentioned Jaden Daniels in regards to leading the team in rushing last year. Do you foresee that to be something similar to this year, where you guys rely heavily on the run game in regards to Jaden Daniels, or like you say, you have 8 scholarship running backs, let those guys do the workload and more so protect him and let him be the quarterback is. But at the same time, if you take away that, you kind of take away the dynamic of which Jaden Daniels is, right?
Yeah, I don't think you want to completely limit him, and I don't think they would do that. And also, you can't really limit him if he scrambles on a pass play. If anything, you would maybe minimize the designed quarterback runs. But I think you just kind of let Jane Daniels be Jane Daniels to a degree, and I don't think he rushes for 850 yards this year, but I definitely think he probably rushes for like 650 yards, 600 yards or so. So slight dip there if he becomes more of a pocket passer, but if you're LSU, I think you want him running. Um, I mean, again, probably what 60 yards a game, 50, 60 yards a game. I think that's a comfortable number there. The good thing is also not that Jane Daniels has gotten hurt, but he left the Georgia game. He's left some games in his career, and LSU I think has one of the better backup quarterbacks in the country with Garrett Nussmeier. So yeah, that's a nice security blanket as well. So it'll be interesting to see how much they run him by design. But like you said, I think you just kind of got to live with it. You got to let him be Jane Daniels because that's what makes him so dynamic.
Right, most definitely. All right, so we talk about Malik Neighbors, one of the better receivers in the country, big time playmaker. FSU is going to have their hands full in guarding him. What about the receivers after him or around him? What is that? Because I know, from a, I guess, returning standpoint, I know Boutique, he's going, of course.
Yeah.
Not sure what you guys have after Malik from a standpoint in regards to production. So let's talk about the receivers you've been seeing in camp that's kind of been stepping up to be, that next up in regards to, being a safety net to help out Neighbors a little bit.
Yeah. Like you said, Keishawn Butte goes to the
Boutte,
NFL.
excuse me.
Yeah, no, he made the Patriots roster, and then Jeray Jenkins went to the NFL undrafted free agent. So those were their next two receivers last year. Now I look at Brian Thomas Jr., 6'4", a real playmaker, has real upside, but last year I don't want to say it was disappointing, but he only had 400 yards receiving. He wasn't as dynamic as maybe a lot of people had hoped because he has all the physical tools that you could ask. And then Kyron Lacy, who transferred in from Louisiana Lafayette last year, was a good player, but he's taken, I think, a step forward. So that's receiver 2 and 3, Thomas and Lacy. And then after that, you get to Aaron Anderson, a transfer from Alabama, who's from New Orleans, spent 1 year at Alabama, was hurt last year, transfers, I mean, back to Louisiana, back home. And he's 5'9", 190, kind of I don't want to call him a gadget player because that sounds demeaning to a degree. It's like, oh, he can only do gadget stuff. Really, really talented receiver in the slot. So that's something they didn't have last year. And so you get Aaron Anderson in different situations on screens, on slants, jet sweep type stuff. That's an aspect that I don't think they had last year. So that's going to be really interesting to see. So those are the three guys I look at after Neighbors that I think will have really strong years.
All right, last question. Let's talk about how LSU, how you, in your opinion, how LSU matches up against FSU for the upcoming game. This
Yeah,
is what
it's
people want to hear.
Man, I've been watching Florida State, watching LSU. I mean, I've basically spent the past like month trying to figure out how this game is going to go, and I'm sure a lot of LSU and Florida State fans are saying the same thing because it's so. That's another reason why I'm glad these two teams start off with each other because it's given us something to look forward to. I think the clear advantage for Florida State going into this is Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman against, like I said, a secondary at LSU, a cornerback. That's your question mark. So that's the biggest advantage for Florida State. And, I say LSU is going to have to counteract that with Harold Perkins and the pass rushing. I know I haven't even mentioned Harold Perkins here, but it's like that's one of the best players in the country, bar none. And so if he's able to disrupt Travis or, just make those plays, he had 4 forced fumbles last year. I mean, if he's able to make one of those game changing plays, that's what LSU kind of needs defensively to maybe throw off Johnny Wilson or Keon Coleman and Jordan Travis. So I look at that as being Florida State's advantage, and LSU is going to have to, bother Jordan Travis in a lot of ways to even it out. And then on the other side of the ball, I do like LSU's offensive line a lot. I think in a lot of games this year, Florida State's going to win the line of scrimmage with their defensive line. I mean, they have a really talented defensive line, especially with Fisk now. But I think LSU has one of the best offensive lines in the country. So that's kind of a, immovable object meets a unstoppable force type thing. That's going to be a really interesting battle there. But I think tight end Mason Taylor's going to have a really good game. And ultimately, I do trust Malik Neighbors to get, over like 90 yards receiving. And I think they're going to be able to move the ball. everybody I've talked to has this as a high scoring game, and I can kind of see why. But it's just gonna be interesting how it plays out because there's so many variables here. It's like, can Jaden Daniels be efficient as a passer? Can LSU be consistent running the ball? Can Florida State stop Harold Perkins? It's just a lot of different moving pieces here. So I'm just excited to see it.
Most definitely. All right, man. So Matt, give me your score prediction. Lay it on the line. Talk to me.
I'll make Florida State fans happy real quick. I have picked Florida State to win. I have LSU going 11-1 to a Florida State win. This is the one I look at Florida State as a worse matchup for LSU than Alabama. Mostly because of the quarterback position. But I will get into Alabama. We don't have to talk about Alabama, but like it's just a different matchup. And week one, going to Florida, it doesn't feel like LSU's at its peak right now. Not that Florida State is, but it doesn't feel like LSU's really clicking. Very, very talented, but no Mason Smith. Denver Harris hasn't panned out, so I just have question marks that I'm going to need to see answered before I pick LSU to win this game. So, I think on the radio today, I've I've talked to a lot of people. It's like I think I had something like, God, what did I say earlier today? 34-31 Florida State, something like that.
I like
So
it. I take it.
that's something like what I said. But yeah, I do think it's gonna be a really tight game. So hopefully no LSU fans are watching this. But I'm gonna have this in a written piece anyways tomorrow, so it don't matter.
No, I agree, man. I think it's going to be a close one. I think this is just similar to last year, even to a higher degree, two of the more talented teams in the country. Now more people are taking notice to that. And I do feel like whoever wins this game still have a chance to all their season goals. So this isn't the be all tell all. I think whoever wins this game still has a long season ahead of him and can be on the plus side of the season. But Matt, it's always been a pleasure, man. Let the people know where they can follow you at.
Yeah, for sure. You follow me on Twitter at Matthew Brune _ cover LSU for the Bengal Tiger on three, part of the On Three network over there. That's growing. So yeah, thanks for having me on. This is a lot of fun. I look forward to it. I'm flying into Orlando like Sunday morning / afternoon, so I'm getting there, going straight to the stadium pretty much. So we'll see how it goes.
Man, listen, man, if you got some time, man, stop by the tailgate, man, and hang out a little bit.
For sure, for sure. I'll see what I can do. Thanks for having me on, man.
Most definitely. Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Brune, LSU On 3 reporter. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let's move on a little bit and talk to the people. We have our call-in portion of the show. We're going to call this Talk It Out. This is going to be our weekly portion where we talk to our fans and just, see how they're feeling in regards to the game. Oh, excuse me. See how they're feeling in regards to the game and things like that, recruiting, wherever it may be, or just some general talking all around. So we're going to go ahead and get it started. Let's see what we got. Hey, Rob, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm just watching these boys go up top.
So, yeah, talk to me. We're recording right now, man. So, talk to me how the game looking so far.
First place, 70 yards up top.
Ooh, first place, 70 yards on top. Who else going deep to? Was it on the All-American corner they've been talking about? The so-called All-American corner?
Yeah, he got turf bubbles in his helmet.
That's what I like to hear. Man, so we got a friend of the show, man, a real good friend of mine, man, Rob DeLoach. He is the father of Kalen DeLoach, starting linebacker for FSU. Rob's going to be in Orlando hanging out with us all weekend as well, man. So just talk to the people a little bit. Rob, how are you feeling in regards to this LSU game?
Man, I'm looking forward to it, man. I think the team is ready. I talked to Dre Trav Dad today, man. He says the guys are probably more focused than they ever been before. And, we got a lot of leadership on this team. So they went out with a bang last year, and now they bring it over to this year. Had some great transfers. We got depth. We just pray that everybody stays healthy. And I'm looking for us to go 12-0, beat Georgia in the national championship.
Man, I like it. I predict the 12-0 season. We beat those dogs in the national championship, man. We definitely gonna have a good time in Houston that weekend. I promise you that. Already got my hotel room reserved just in case, man. People jump on that. While the tickets are still cheap. So we're talking about this LSU game. How do you feel like the Noles match up against LSU? I know last year was one of the most exciting games we had last year. And last year, we were pretty much under the radar. Both teams were kind of, but not everyone kind of knows what we have going in, and the attention is back on us. So how do you feel in regards to how we match up against the Tigers?
Well, iron sharpens iron, and I think we learned, playing them early last year, and it kind of rolled over throughout the season. Florida was a big win for us as well, and we just kind of stacked the deck a little more, got a little more depth. We played them last year. We lost Bless after the first series, and some other guys had to step up. But now, man, like Coach said, we 8-10 across the front, and we got 3 or 4 guys that are interchangeable. You add Jaheim Bell, man. I think that's going to be the difference maker.
Yeah, he's my X factor.
Yeah, I mean he's the X, Y, and Z factor. Then you still got to deal with Keon Coleman. He's a gentle giant with big hands, um, soft spoken. I mean, hell, we're not even talking about J. Trav and Benson yet. So I think we match up. I think we're going to be explosive. I look for this team to average probably 40-something points a game. I just hope the defense is in shape to be back on the field.
Right.
We're going to go so fast, and we're going to be a physical team. And, I don't ask Kelly anything about practice, but just, talking to some of the parents, they've been saying that the defense has been flying around. So that's always good to hear when the team is being aggressive and, not worrying about having to stay on the field. We got depth all across the field. So I'm excited. And, I predict we beat them by 2 touchdowns. So we should have beat them by 2 touchdowns last year, but we got cute towards the end and made it a game. But I think, we've learned, the players have learned, the coaches have learned. So I think we're going to, take it to another level.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of Caleb, you said, I know you don't probably talk too much about practice with you and things like that, but I just know he had to be happy with as far as what we brought on a defensive line, man, just to help him out a little bit and to keep him, DJ Lundy, and Tatum Bethune free a little bit to make some plays. You had Braden Fix and those guys to defensive line. It's like a linebacker's dream.
Man, hey, man, that's all I got to say. He got Rolls Royces up front now, man. You don't run up and run in the back of somebody when you get them Rolls Royce fender benders up front,
Right.
There's not a lot of stress on Fabo, too. Him and Coop had to carry much of the defensive line last year. And, Farmer's better this year. And I believe, DJ is going to get his waiver at some point this season.
I do as
It's
well.
just going to bring on, more physicality up front. I'm looking for Omar Graham to have a great season. From what I understand, the kid's been putting in work. And, it's just going to be physical and fast. Buckle up.
Buckle up, baby. Most definitely, man. It's always good to talk to you, Rob. See you in Orlando, man. We're going to hang out real good at the tailgate. I promise you that. Are you coming to the block party as well?
Man, I'm leaving tomorrow, man. I'll be there tomorrow, probably by 6 o'clock.
Most definitely. Oh, you leaving real early then, huh?
Hey, man. We ain't got nothing else to do, man.
6 o'clock in the evening or the morning. I know you talk about the evening, right?
Yeah, we're talking tomorrow afternoon. So,
okay.
we empty nesting, man. We ain't got nothing to do but just get on the road.
Hey, man, congrats to that, man. We had a conversation off air, man. I want to, give you kudos to everything you've done in regards, to your children, man. I told you before, man, got to give you flowers, just the stuff you've done as far as, being in your children's life and guiding them along the way from an athletic standpoint and just from a father standpoint as well, man. It's definitely something to take note of. So definitely enjoy the empty nest, man. You and your wife definitely deserve a happy late anniversary.
All right, man. Thank you, man. Good luck to your show, man. Anything I can do, man, always reach out. I'm here for you.
Appreciate you, man. Take care.
All right, peace.
All right, that's Rob Loesdale. See, we got one more call in the hole. Let's jump into it. Dibby, you there?
Yeah, man. I'm here, man. What's going on?
I was good, bro. How you doing, man?
Hey, man. I'm chilling, man. Glad to see your show up and running now.
Appreciate you, bro. Definitely good to take it off, man. It's a good thing going so far, man. I appreciate all the support y'all been showing so far too, man. To be quite honest with you, man, it's been nothing but love.
Hold on, CJ. Hat I bought you, man.
Yeah, matter of fact, this is the hat you bought me, man. It's crazy. It's crazy I'm wearing it, man. This is one of my favorite hats, man. As you guys don't know, man, me and Dibby had a bet going on. I forget what the bet was. It was the Miami Heat versus the LA Lakers. We do that pretty much every year, and we making a hat bet. The Lakers won, and Dibby got me this nice hat from Garnet Cole. Appreciate the love, Dibby. It's one of my favorite hats, bro.
Whatever, dog. It's all good. You look good on you, though, dog.
Appreciate you. Now, but talk to me. How you feel about the season?
Man, I feel good, man. It's been a long time since I felt this way, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, the last 5 seasons before last year, you know what I'm saying, it was hell, man. You know what I'm saying? I was finding everything to do.
Right.
The game on Saturdays, you know what I'm saying? But And this year, man, I feel good about it though, bro. How about you?
Yeah, I feel good about it too, man. I felt good going into the season last year. Going to the practice, I kind of told you guys, like, man, we look pretty good. Like, look out, like this could be a 9-win team,
Yeah.
this or another. Lo and behold, they won 9 games or 10 games, 9 regular season, 10 overall. Bring everybody back, and then you go in the transfer portal, with get some heavy hitters, and just develop some guys along from last year. Hell, man, I feel excellent this year now, bro. I feel like we've arrived, man. I feel like we talk about understanding and all that type of stuff, and people saying, well, why do you say we're going to go to the national championship or go to the playoffs or win the ACC, this, that, and another? Like Mike say, man, this is the FSU standard. We come into the season with expectations every year. We expect, to be in this situation. Those 90 glory years,
Yeah.
every year,
Yeah.
season talking about national championship and things
Yeah.
like that. So nothing should
Right.
be different now. I feel like Mike Norvell understands that and understands Florida State in general and just got us back on the right track, man. I've been the Mike guy from the jump. So to see it happen and see it, flourishing and 4 years later, man, it's definitely beautiful to see. So tell me what you got against LSU, man. Talk to me. What do you think we do against the Tigers?
Man, you know what I'm saying? Before I hit my prediction, I think we'll be able to run the ball. I think we're going to hit them with a lot of screens. You know what I'm saying? Kind of loosen them up at first, then hit them over the top when that safety start coming in. You know what I'm saying? But I think LSU going to come out hard too, though. I mean, Daniels, man, he's legit, man. He's legit. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be something like 40-20.
Okay, you got a blowout, huh? 40
Yeah.
20 FSU.
No. Like going to the fourth quarter, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be something like, like 27-20 or something like that, and we just pull away.
Just
Something
pull
like
away.
that. We
Yeah.
just pull away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think FSU horses wise, man, we just got too many horses right now, to be honest
Mm-hmm.
with you. I think we're kind of clicking at the right time. Versus not necessarily clicking at the right time. We're just in sync. We understand the sign. We have new guys, but we have a lot of veterans who've been around and understand what's going on and understand the offense. LSU, not necessarily the offense, understand what we want as a team in general. And LSU, they're still getting their footing down, and they got a lot of moving pieces, especially
Yeah.
last year, this year. And that secondary is a concern for me. I'm just hearing Matthew Brune talk a little bit about the secondary, hearing other people talk about the secondary. I think FSU could do some things through the air, and that's something that could be dangerous because we got weapons at receiver, some big time weapons.
Yeah. Yeah,
So we'll
but
definitely see how it plays out.
I think LSU going to do a lot of blitzing, man. They got to get home. They got to get home. You know what I'm saying? They can't let Jordan Travis just sit back there. You know what I'm saying? So they know their secondary is bad. So, I don't think they'll get home with just rushing 4.
Right. It's
You know
gonna
what I'm
be pick
saying?
your
So,
poison for sure.
right.
We'll
You know
see
what
how
I'm
it
saying?
play out, man. So give me your final season prediction, then we'll go ahead and get up out of here.
Okay. 12-0, bro.
12-0. I
12
like
and 0,
it.
12 and 0, man.
I
Natty,
love
baby.
it. Natty, we feeling it. We feeling it.
Natty, dog. Yeah, man.
That's a bet, man. Dibby, it's always a pleasure, man. Make sure you tune in moving forward, bro.
Man, you be safe out there, bro.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. That's Dibby, man. One of my guys, man. Good friend of the show. Solid dude overall. Yeah, we were going to go ahead and wrap up this show. It's been a good episode of Dope Talk. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. And again, if you are in Orlando for the LSU and FSU game, make sure you guys hit that link in the comments and the description. And let's have a good time. We got the tailgate going on. We got the block party. And also we have some parking available too, in case you're still looking for parking. Go Noles.